Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show that talks about all things essence, where we explore the mysterious, the mystical, the wonderful, the synchronistic, the incredible awe in producing things that happen to us, sitting around the campfire, having those campfire chats and discussions and sharing and inspiring each other with our stories. And so I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird. I love to take people on this fantastical journey over the threshold through the magic doorway into their soul's journey, where we realize that life is not quite as heavy, dense, difficult, struggling, and awful as we thought it was before we had something that woke us up and brought us across the threshold. And I really love just seeing people light up as they start realizing the conscious interplay that we can do here with this, thing called source, God, creator, universe, whatever it is you want to call it. And so today I invite another wonderful friend on the show, Lisa Winston. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, my love. You are so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to be here because I love what you do.
And I was telling Lisa before we got on the show, I love her pink. It's so awesome. I love all the pinks and purples back there. Oh, it's just great.
Yeah, I want to sing. We were just before we got on.
We were singing.
Like, oh my God!
It's so fantastic. We're so excited. It just turns out that we both are opera fans. I was telling her how my son Tanner, we go around the house like, I'm making pancakes, and he'd say, I'd like chocolate chips,
I love that.
So much fun. So here we are. We're gonna have a fun episode today, as you can tell, and just so you know, like maybe why some singing is coming forward. Lisa Winston is a gifted vocalist, and she's an #1 international bestselling author, a TV host, and an inspirational speaker. A life of extreme challenges, including losing her home to wildfire and breast cancer, made Lisa hungry for deeper connection to source and determined to find her true calling. Today, she shares the message that life is always happening for you, and challenges are sent to refine, not define you. Lisa has produced many influential global summits and is featured on summits, national radio, podcasts, and cable TV shows. She hosts and co-produces the Mindset Reset TV show. I love that, Mindset Reset, which reaches millions worldwide, and is grateful to be blessed with a beautiful daughter. And I'm grateful to be blessed with her. So,
I love you. I'm keeping you.
Do it. Yes. Okay. Let's do it. So we're going to have a conversation about life isn't for it to hurt you, hinder you, make you suffer.
Right.
All that's a choice. So tell us how you came to that realization through some challenges.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. That's where I'm just going to plug my book for a second.
There's my book of challenges. Yeah.
If you guys want to know, this tells all. It tells all. And it took a long time. I'll be 60 in February, and it took me a long time to get here, but I'm glad I've arrived, whatever that means, right? Because we're always moving. But I just had a really heavy, probably about 53 years. I was awake to a certain degree when I was young. I knew I was here for a special purpose. I didn't know what it was. So I went through a lot of religious experiences. You know how we all just keep moving and, trying to find our way, especially when we're here for a greater purpose. So I had a lifetime filled with challenges, illness, rape, gang rape, divorces, abuse, all kinds of stuff. And anyway, I, my book is about turning points. It's those decisions, those big things, and sometimes those small decisions that move us toward what it is that we're here to do. And so I talk about mine one of my biggest ones was 2007 when I lost my house to wildfire, and 2 months later I was diagnosed with breast cancer. That was a pivotal point in my life where I really woke up and I knew the universe was trying to tell me something. And at that point, I didn't really know that the universe loved me a whole lot. Like I knew, you know what I mean? Like,
it's those moments you're like, are you sure you love me? Because it doesn't feel that way right now.
Yeah, exactly. But I had a sense of it because really that next year of rebuilding my home and going through breast cancer surgery and radiation and, the whole thing really was it was weird because it was one of the most present experiences I've ever had because I had to live present moment to moment. And then it was when I got back into my house a year later where I was like, this isn't my house. I don't have any of my stuff. I flipped out. So I went through all these things where the universe was just like, hey, you need to listen and pay attention. So, and I've had some other bigger ones since then, which caused me to write my book. But it's just been a series of, being on my hands and knees way back when and praying and hitting walls and, I'm sure you've been through the same journey, just desperate to find my way through. What am I moving toward? Who am I? Why am I here?
Who am I? Why am I here? And, what's so interesting is in the first minute of you speaking, you listed off about like a dozen things that you went through that most people are like, even one of those things, I'd be like, what? How did you recover? How did you get through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as humans, having this human experience till you're really awake and aware, you shove a lot of it. Like right now I'm working with a Reiki healer, clearing past lifetime traumas and horrible things that happened to me. And, it's not just this lifetime that we hold things in our body. We hold things from past lifetimes that we come in with, but it's not a bad thing. It's actually for us, to clear and move forward in our journey, however that works. I don't know how spirit does all that or why, but that's part of it. So, I do a lot of work, clearing work, because that's, I've got a lot of tools I use. And so I went through those. Those are all really, this is my spin, obviously. And I think it's important for viewers to know that I had to suffer a lot and be a victim a lot until one day it dawned on me that I wasn't a victim at all. And that's hard to take responsibility for what you're creating, because again, that's that whole set of, like if you get raped, it's, my daughter said to me, well, you didn't attract that. But in reality, we're running programs from our subconscious that we don't even know are there, like the programs that run on your computer. So it's not a conscious decision to have these things happen. But when you create them, I also believe that they're created to get your attention, to shift your ways of being if you choose to do that and move forward. So I would say probably in the last 5 to 6 years, I've really started clearing a lot of this stuff. But yes, as a human, I carried a lot of that stuff with me for a lot of years.
Yeah, that victim, rescuer, perpetrator triangle. Woo!
Yes. Yeah,
it's so pervasive. It's so pervasive. And I catch myself in it still once in a while. I find other little hooks that hook me into that triangle, and I think maybe this is a lifelong journey or something, but how do you become aware of it? Like, what are some tools that you use to go, wait a second, I'm creating something right now and I'm aware that I'm creating something. And then how do you, because that triangle is super pervasive. We can feel like victims to life.
Gosh, keep me on track, because I have several thoughts. First of all, awareness is a practice. I mean, I started years ago because I was an introvert and I really hated people, but really in reality, I hated me. I didn't know me. I didn't like me. I didn't like my life. I was very unconscious and very much a victim. And when I started doing, the universe brought me a thing that I share with my clients. It's called the Love Expansion Meditation years ago. It was for me specifically, and I started sharing it. But it was really sitting in stillness. And even when you don't believe something, like an affirmation, you can say it and you don't have to necessarily believe it initially, but when you start the process and you commit to it, mine was about loving myself so much. I love myself. And then what happens in this meditation is you extend these ripples of love from within yourself, your communities, out into the world and the globe, because it's a ripple effect. It comes back. And when I first did this practice, I was like, this is BS, I don't love myself. I don't love people, it's like, yeah,
Can't wait to get away from them.
Exactly. So, I did that for a while. And what I noticed was as I committed to doing it, I'd be able to sit for 2 minutes and then, 5 minutes and then 10. And I got to a point where I was like in 30 minutes, I started having something shifted in my heart. And I started feeling this divine love while I was in this meditation so big. It was this feeling I had never felt. And it felt so, I can't even describe it. You know what it feels like when you're sitting in divine love and spirit? It's like, it just is it's enveloped you and you just don't want to move because you know that that's not what you feel every day. So that was kind of my beginning turning point. And it's an ongoing process. You're right. You talked about, being a victim, and it is absolutely a lifelong process. It doesn't matter how big you get, how much you know, how much you teach. We're all human. We have this experience until the day we're off the planet. But some of the tools I use.
I had a huge awareness around that. In all places, the school line drop off kids.
I did that with my kids.
I mean, it happens so close to home. And I was like, who? And then I go into imposter syndrome. So, I mean, I got hooked into my victim triangle because somebody honked at me because I left a gap. And then I went into victim triangle over, and then I got instantly angry. And then I had to like cope with, because I'm emotionally centered, and I had the whole wave of anger happen. And then I shot a dirty look as they passed by, and I did the whole thing. I even like honked at them too. And, and here I am like on here, right? And so then I feel like an imposter. And I'm like, you're such a fake. You're such an imposter, Carrie Hummingbird. You're so full of crap. You know,
you're transparent and you're authentic. And that's what I love, because if people were real, they would share their crap, right? Because we all have it. That's what I'm committed to, authenticity. We are not perfect. And I share mine every time I have a breakdown. I share my breakdown and my breakthrough, because that's where that awareness comes in.
Breakdown and breakthrough. I love that. Okay, good. Keep going.
What I wanted to share with you, though, is because you gave that experience of being in the school line, and I've done that too. And that's, you know, before I was really awake, or maybe I wasn't. I was just having crappy moments. I don't know. But anyway, what I started doing was I had done Qigong, you know, became a facilitator, and I did it. And for like, I would do it for, you know, hours a day, active exercises, meditations. And after a while, I was like, you know, I can't like sit and do this all day long. Like, I got other stuff to do. So what I was really led to teach and also learn were these tiny little processes. Because I mean, if you don't have a daily, and I know you have one, if you don't have a daily toolbox, right? When you hit a wall, because you're gonna hit a wall every day, you know, you're gonna have a difficult time. So I do Qigong, energetic processes. I also do mindset practices. I do tapping. I do Ho'oponopono. So I have all these little snippets that I do when things come in, and I use them regularly. So I want your viewers to know that they really need to find simple tools that really work, so they can incorporate them into their life every day.
Yeah, that is so brilliant. That's exactly what, because you know, when these things happen to somebody like who's a way shower, thought leader, or whatever, like driven to go do that thing, you will actually go home and analyze it endlessly. Like, how did that get started? How did I get myself in the place where I reacted? What was the thing? And so for me, there was an obvious aha when I cooled down at home long enough. I was like, oh, yeah, racing out of bed after the alarm clock didn't go off in my nightgown and throwing on the jacket and getting in the car without taking any time to center ground or wake myself up probably contributed a little bit to that circumstance. And, you know, so I became mindful that, you know, the importance of that morning practice, the importance of getting up, even, you know, you get thrown a curveball, like the alarm got turned off, bam, it wasn't your fault. So, but you still trying to meet this cultural expectation to get the kids to school on time, right? And so there's like, well, I'll just hurry up myself. I'll step right over myself and force myself out the door. And it's like, no, I actually, Carrie Hummingbird knows that she needs at least like 15 minutes in the morning to just like clear this thing, to get it ready for the world, you know?
And you can do it all day long. I mean, because, you know, stuff comes up. You're right. And I mean, I think the big thing too is taking responsibility, because when you start realizing that you're creating everything, you know, it's like we're not taught who we are back then, you know. I mean, we have no idea who we are. We're living from our parents and other people's concepts, right? We have no idea why. It's like I just did a Reiki session the other day. It was really powerful. And I could see, and I knew this kind of, I'd seen it before, but I'd seen my hands and my feet bound, and she had seen ropes around my midsection. And I knew that I was actually burned at the stake for being a witch in another lifetime. And she and I were both bawling, right? We're both like, oh my God. So it was so powerful. Because what I realized, and I knew, again, I had a sense of this. This is the stuff that people need to explore, because it's super important. Even if you don't believe it, it's there. And the thing is that we create from our core values. That's what I had just shared on a previous interview. Core values are super important. If we don't know what we value, we don't know why we're creating, like why we're reacting a certain way, responding, or deciding a certain way. So for me, one of my biggest core values is freedom. Like if I'm in a relationship that's holding me back, or energetically somebody's holding me back, I want to run. I always say, I feel like I'm in prison, right? But I actually took that back to past lifetime, and it was like something happened to me that was so unjust and so unfair. And I was so afraid to show up visibly in this lifetime, because I was afraid I was going to be burned at the stake again, right? One way or the other. And I was also, it brought up the fact that this is why I've always felt imprisoned, you know, because of something that happened way back when, which it's okay to know about it. You don't have to buy into it. You just want to clear it. So again, knowing your core values, taking responsibility, doing the work. Again, we're not taught how to do stuff. And so you want to build a business, you have to learn about it. You want to, you know, be a mother. A lot of times you read books about, you know, nursing or whatever it is, right? If you want to be able to navigate this life as an energy being and a human, you get to learn how and learn who you are and how to navigate, how to do it. It's a commitment.
Yeah. And like not avoid the challenge. Like
Right.
when I came back, I was so upset by the thing that I actually posted on my neighborhood group, and I was like, is this how we do? We honk at each other. Well, and I didn't even know what I was setting myself up for. It was a huge soul lesson, like even more lessons that I could even imagine. So the person actually responded on there. And he did it in a way to make me look bad. Like there were 7 car lengths in front of you, and like this whole, you know, like this big story to justify the action. And then, so I got that. And then I got to witness how people were supporting they were liking his comment.
Well, yeah.
And I got to be in the space of, wow, I'm not liked. Oh, wow. People really don't like me, but they like this other person. And so I got to experience and you know what it was? Because it's just like you're saying, it comes from someplace. It comes from someplace in your field. And as I looked at it, I was like, this is like elementary school.
Yes.
For me, actually.
Yes.
My elementary school, I moved to this town when I was in 3rd grade, and I was the new kid, and they all had their cliques. And they refused to like let me in at all. And so I was always the outsider. And then they loved to poke at me. They loved poking at me. Like they stole my jacket one time and brought it up a tree. And they just loved, because they loved watching me get angry, because it was humorous for them to see me get angry. And so they would taunt me until I would get angry. And so that was exactly the thing. And my 2 younger children are at the age where I was living in that town.
Wow. That is so beautiful though. See, that's the awareness. You know, first of all, there are different, you know, layers to that. I mean, his angry response, he of course attracts people who are angry. That's how it goes. You know, if somebody's angry or they feel betrayed or abandoned or whatever they do, right? They put that energy out there, and the people who are in resonance with that anger will come in and support them. But what a beautiful lesson for you. What a beautiful realization for you, you know, that it came from something. And, you know, we do attract from our deepest core, you know, and those feelings create. But again, it's like, you know, when you start being a coach or whatever, and you get on Facebook and you start being visible, sure enough, in that first couple of years of doing, like I was an authenticity coach, right? Because that was my journey. I didn't know who I was. And I had like some weirdos come in and they had nasty remarks, and I'm like, block those people, you know. And it was like,
out of here.
I mean, they don't have to like me, but you know, hey, they don't have to be on my page. You know,
yeah, that doesn't match my worldview. So,
right. But that was a phase, you know, it was my angry phase. It was kind of like, I'm showing up and I don't really care what you have to say about me, right? And in reality, you don't really need to worry about what other people think, but it's a phase. So I love that you were aware of that. See, most people, they just stay in that unconscious phase and they don't go one step further because it's not about them, right?
Well, you know what I did? I actually took it one step further, Lisa, because this is how I am, because I actually really enjoy these experiments now, because I've studied Toltec wisdom. I've studied the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel. And so I'm like, okay, I wonder if I've made an assumption. So I put a separate post out on my public feed and I said, survey, when somebody honks at you, what's the first thing you feel or think? Because I thought, okay, I might have made an assumption about what a honk means.
Right.
And sure enough, I was blown away by all the different perspectives on what it means, and like how people handle it and what they think it means, and then how they respond to it. And like, it was all over the board, and something in my mind unhooked. Yeah. It went, oh, there's enough of a gap now.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like how we can start shifting some of this. Like, we notice we have that, you know, we're being drawn to circumstances, like in your case, the rape, which is like, most people would say, well, that's not your fault. You didn't ask for that to happen. They're totally to blame. You're the victim. And you're like, no, I'm not the victim. So talk about that.
Well, I had to deal with that one. I did not too long ago. I dealt with that with somebody because I was like holding on to it. You know, I didn't really forgive it. And you know, since Joe and Vitaly and I are dear friends, and since, you know, I started doing his Ho'oponopono practices, because when I was teaching forgiveness, it was about standing somebody in front of you and forgiving them. But Ho'oponopono is about forgiving you. It all starts with you. It all comes from within you. And that's where I started to really shift my ways of being and exploring things like rape and all these things that had come to me. Because again, life is happening for us, and the universe loves us so big that it really wants us to be all we're here to be. But we got to just get rid of all those experiences and that energy that like what you were just talking about, perception. I mean, in reality, we're living from rose-colored glasses, but whose glasses are there? They're not yours generally, So for me, it was really going through that experience of what created this, what belief, and also there was a flip side, which is weird, and this may freak a couple of people out. And I'm not going to share what came up for me because it's a little strange, but it's true for me. In an experience like that, there was also something that your soul wanted to experience. You benefited in some way from that, or there was some belief that you were carrying that attracted that. And I started looking at that because at first I was like, somebody had asked me that, and I was like, what, are you out of your freaking mind?
Why would I ever want to experience that?
But what came forward was something I never would have thought about, because it's taking responsibility, and I didn't want to be responsible for that. And when I looked at it, it shifted my mindset into, and this again is really a big subject, because I have friends that have had children murdered, all kinds of things that are just so incredibly unjust. And there's so much at play here. We don't know the karma. We don't know what the universe has in mind. We don't know the whole big picture. They talk about children that come in and they die at 6 weeks old, but they had a mission. They came here for a parent to grow or whatever. There's so many different things. So you get to look at your situation. What does it mean for you? And even if it sounds bizarre, if it shifts you and it clicks, like you had that experience, it's true for you. That was your lesson. So I'm still working through some of that. I'd let go of a lot of it, but I understand the process and what it means. And so I'm clearing a lot of stuff right now. It's all good.
No, it's wonderful. And you're getting that opportunity. I had this teacher for a while, Heather Ashamara, who studied with Don Miguel Ruiz. And I remember one time it was hard for me to understand what she was saying, but the deeper I go in my journey, the more I understand it, is that she was saying, like, everybody in the world and all the things that you judge actually is within you. It's all inside of you. It's like you could imagine that inside of you is a microcosm of like the whole world. And so within you was a murderer, within you was a rapist, within you was all of that. And because you maybe had all these lifetimes where you experienced being that thing, and then you had to experience the opposite. So the universe, like you were talking about, has this way of like giving us an opportunity to see all the different mirror reflections of the same situation so that we can know it from the inside out and in like 360.
That's beautiful. And there's so many things around that. Like, Shakespeare said, and I worked with, probably a lot of people don't know, but Dr. Thurman Fleet, who was his past, but he had it's actually still out. It's called Concept Therapy, Conceptology. It's about our concepts and how they create. But anyway, what Shakespeare initially had said, all the world is like, it's like we're on the stage of the one life. And in reality, right, it's like that projector coming down through, which is the light, and it's coming down through your slide. So literally everybody that shows up in your reality is created for you, for your life experience, for whatever it is that you're here to learn. And so you really do create you're a co-creator with the divine in creating that. And again, it's, that's where you get to either be a victim in this lifetime or go, oh gosh, I don't really understand that, but okay, I see that, so many things around that. And again, we could sit and talk. Maybe
totally. We could talk for hours about that. But the most important thing really is that this concept, the shift between I'm a victim and life is hurting me to, oh, it's for me in some way that I can't grasp right now. And the synchronicity of it is actually here for me to witness it. And if I could start tuning into the synchronicity, talk about your journey with synchronicity.
Oh God, girl, I don't even know where to start. I mean, even like your turning point, I had so many synchronicities, but in the end of 27 into 2018, the end of 27, I'll be as brief as I can, but I want to share the whole thing. And that is, I had done my coaching. I left a 40-year music career and went into coaching, and I had a coach, and I did a lot of leadership training, a lot of things. I did everything. I jumped all in, air, fire, grit, come on, trying to build this business. And I I was a good coach. I am a good coach, but it wasn't turning me on anymore. It was like, I don't feel like it's right. I couldn't get aligned. It's like, who am I? What am I here? What's my message? I couldn't even get a 3-minute elevator pitch together because I couldn't get clear on what my message was. And so I kept pounding against, hitting rock bottom. I mean, financially and otherwise, until I finally realized that the universe was shutting me down. It was like, you're not going in the right direction.
Turn around.
It had been saying that for a long time, right? But I'm like, no, I got to do this because I put money into this and I've committed to it and my coaches are telling. So I did this whole thing. So anyway, I got this hit. I had been with my mother briefly because I went back for my 43 reunion, and I got a hit to go back and be with my 87-year-old mother. And I'm like, well, I was just there. I don't know. She's old. Okay. And then I closed my business down, and I went into this gigantic journey of, I don't know what's happening. I have no money. I'm in debt. Everything's closed down. I'm supposed to go back and be with my mother again. What? So I literally just put my hands out in surrender and said, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I trust, help me to, die to self, extreme surrender. I ended up this 2018 was crazy, and it's in my book, all the literally baby steps. I was told to go to Washington, D.C. for 4 days. I got a call from a friend who's a coach, and she was running this big business for a law firm. I think we want you, to be our person that promotes this and does on, you're on stage and all that. And they flew me to DC for 4 days, met all these amazing people. It was a yes, got to the end of the trip, and I felt a shift into a no. Okay, I don't know where I went, but okay, they paid for the trip. So and then Joe Vitale and I, we had known each other for a couple of years because he had done a summit with me years ago, and we had a really amazing connection. But he started following me, and then I started using a coach. Strangely enough, I met a coach. I decided to go with her. She was based in San Antonio. So I was going there for masterminds. And literally, I had a shift away from that as well. Joe and I were going to get together for dinner. It didn't happen. And then he said, well, let's do it in a couple months when you come back. So I booked my flight for the next part of the mastermind. Ended up having a no. Called up my coach. I don't feel aligned with this anymore. I'll keep paying you, but I'm not going to do the program. She let me go. I still had the ticket. And so I called Joe and I said, well, I still have the ticket. You want to have dinner? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So then he and I talked about, lots of things. We're like, why are we here? We don't even know why we're here, And then we started throwing around ideas, and I told him I wanted to write a book. And then I find out my mother's dying when I'm driving back east. She's dying. She's in stage 4 terminal breast cancer. So it was literally, this whole last year was so miraculous. It was challenging, but it was one of the most enlightening, one of the most joyous, miraculous years of my life, where when I said yes to every baby step, everything my inner guidance was telling me to the T, when it made no sense, when I had no money to do it, when it was unknown, when it was unpopular, people are looking at me going, you're 59 years old. Are you freaking out of your mind? Like, what, I kept saying yes. I kept saying yes. I kept saying yes. My book happened. I wrote my book while my mother was dying. A TV show fell in my lap. Joe Vitale and I became close friends. All these, I had my first live event, like literally, like this miracle space opened up. And that's a scary place because most people don't want to go where it's unknown. They don't trust it. They don't trust their inner guidance. There are a lot of things that don't happen. But let me tell you what, I still can't grasp what's going on. And there's a lot going on I can't share right now. And I will when it's time. You want to follow your gut. You want to take those baby steps. You want to listen to that inner guidance.
Yeah, and you got to keep stepping deeper into it. I just led a fire walk this last weekend, and the message that was coming through to me to share is that the fire could be like your passion, right? Like your big passion, like, oh gosh, I really want this thing, right? And I want to get across that fire. But like between you and the fire is a huge fear cloud. And the fear cloud tells you like so much untrue stuff. And as you step deeper into it, you're just like, your brain is just going hog wild with like all the crazy fear things. And then a lot of people stop and turn around. But the thing is to keep stepping into it and not believing it. Because here's the thing, Lisa, when you look at the fear cloud, what happens to it?
It disappears. It's not
it goes
real.
away.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Right.
It's a lie. The money thing, it disappears. It's not real. It's not there. I'm going to get in trouble with my job, get fired. It disappears. It's not there. It's not real. It's a lie.
You're not buying
into it. But it's so real. It seems so real.
It's crazy. I don't know if you know Brian Wetton and Nicole Wetton. They're dear friends of mine. And he wrote a book called Yes, Yes, Hell No. And they have an incredible, Do you know him?
I love
No?
that title. Yes, yes,
Oh,
I'll know.
it's a powerful book, and it talks about that. It talks about how, you know, like even when you want to do your life purpose, or you want to do an event, or you want to just do something that you haven't done, you're like, oh yeah, I'm so excited about it, right? And then you go to do it, and it's like, you know, you stop. I mean, I procrastinated on live events forever until I had Joe supporting me to do it, and then I finally did it, even though I was terrified. I did it anyway. But it's like all these things come forward that are untrue. And when I did a seminar, I actually ended up staffing for them because they were so amazing. They did a process called making friends with your fear. And I have to tell you, just to let people, give them an idea of how big fear is when they announced that they were going to do the process and they wanted somebody to come on stage, right? And I was sitting in the front row, and I didn't want to volunteer. My fear, who it has a name and it's a being, was literally jumping out at them going, call me, call me, call me. And they saw me, they're like, oh my God. So they hand me the mic, and I'm like, what do you mean? I went up on stage, and Brian normally does the process by himself with the person in the chair. Well, his wife, Nicole, who's an intuitive, had to come up and do it because my fear, if you saw the video of them with me on stage, I had tears and snot coming out of my face. I was like a sniveling 2-year-old. I was so terrified. I had this fear that it was like a monster, and it was living inside of me, and it was controlling my life. And they actually had to take me through the process, and it took a long time. So the crazy thing is that it's not real, but that's how big it is. It's like somebody put a gun to your head, and the gun isn't real, but we buy into it.
But we buy into it because it's part of that conditioned response in our brains that you're talking about. It's part of that whole, like, here's another thing. It's like, you know, the iceberg, they say the iceberg.
Yeah.
This is all you know right here. And everything else is that like crazy sea of who knows where it came from, another past life, my mother, my grandmother, my distant relative, my DNA, my, you know, something I saw on television when I was 5 years old, you know, like who knows where it comes from. But see, that's why we can't believe it. We got to keep following that big passion. So that was driving you. So talk about how did you, because this is one of the other things is I was telling people, like the fear cloud can be, you can give it so much power by believing it that it can be like a huge block, and you can walk away from it and walk away from your dreams. But if the fire of your passion is big enough, it'll pull you through the fear cloud. Right. So talk about that. Like, how is that for you?
That's a great one. And that's a big one. I may not be like, but I believe a lot of light workers have the same story. So I'm going to go ahead and share it because I know a lot of people are watching that are light workers. When I was born with immense fear. My mother said all I did was bawl, you know, and the minute like somebody would walk and it would make a noise, I'd start screaming. I was intuitive, didn't know it. Nobody in my family was. And so I would hear people walking upstairs talking. I'd sit behind chairs and shake, you know, like I was terrified. Like I didn't know what was happening to me. So I had, and remember, viewers, that you attract what you believe and you attract what you fear. So I really believe too that a lot of those experiences I had, although they were for good and they helped me to grow, I also attracted fearful things to me because I was terrified of everything. Terrified of my own shadow, had heart problems my whole life, you know, just one thing after the other. So, you know, fear is real, and I really did live my life in terror, but I did have that inner fire. Even at a very early age, I had a belief that I was special, quote unquote, whatever that meant. You know, and so when I went into the religious phase of being a born again, I'm like, oh, I'm saved, so I'm special, you know. And then I went into Messianic Judaism. I went this whole route, right, trying to find out what that meant. And we're all special. We are. I mean, my gosh, we're spirits having a human experience. Hello, that's a miracle. But it was a choice because for me, it was either find my way through or die. I mean, even when I left my 15-year relationship after the fire and the breast cancer, I was so miserable, but I had like this aha download, you know, one of those downloads that comes in like a clarity light bulb, like you don't know what it was, it hit you, and you're like, you just know.
Yeah.
I knew that if I stayed in that situation, I would die. I would get breast cancer again or worse and die. So literally the universe was saying to me, you know, you need to make a choice, and hopefully it's the right one. And because I wanted to live and get to it. And it doesn't mean I'm not scared to this day. You know, my live event I just had, I was afraid, but I did it. Now it's like history. It went off perfectly without a hitch. And we were teaching people who are afraid to get on stage because that's one of the #1 fears above death. actually speaking on stage. So it really is a choice. And I would get coaching or a mentor or someone to support you through these big decisions, because it really means so much just to have not somebody rescue you, but hold your hand through it, or just to see it with you and to hold that vision for you. You still have to walk through. You still have to say yes. You still have to take the chance, the risk. But in reality, you're not going to drop dead from anything that you do that you're afraid of. You're not. So that's what I do, one day at a time. Joe Vitale, my dear friend, got up and I had never spoken on stage. I had been a singer for 40 years. So that was my big thing. His thing was he has a band and everything. And he got up as a solo singer, songwriter by himself with a guitar, and he was terrified. He's been doing this for 40 years. So everybody has a thing. And again, once you break through that, your confidence level rises and you start believing in yourself more and more, and it gets easier and easier to break through the fear.
Yeah, to break through and keep going. You get those little successes, and it's so good what you said about surrounding yourself, having a mentor or a community or other people, because my fear cloud is only terrifying for me.
Right.
But you would look at my fear cloud and go, Carrie Hummingbird, that's ridiculous. You are already that thing. So we could look at each other's and you just go, that is so ridiculous. But when you're looking at your own, it's perfectly designed for you. It knows your number, it just knows how to stop you in your tracks. And I think it's all designed that way. And so that's when I always I learned on my own journey to separate myself from my identity or my specific moment here, as this person, to align myself to that which is bigger than me, which helped me to let go of believing this so much too.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's the thing. The thing that shifted me when I did the summit with Joe was he literally shifted me into a miracle space. And that is one of the things that we get to remember, because we're so busy in our heads and buying into the world's version of whatever, is that my book is about getting to your miracle space. But the thing that's real is that we are living a miracle now. The miracle is now, your body, this experience, the fact that you and I are talking on a computer and looking at each other. I mean, literally every breath you take, the sun rising, all of it, it is a miracle. So if you start understanding how big this miracle is, last night I was taking a walk and I'm looking at the stars. I'm like, oh, the earth it moves. I'm on a ball in the middle of outer space. You'll start to, your mind will go, what? So, that's the thing. We're having this human experience for a reason. And what's driving us source. I mean, I really believe people that are here for a greater mission are the ones that actually experience this the most. Because if you're going to stand in front of the masses and you're going to teach and you're going to shift people's realities, you have to stand tall. You have to break through it. You have to know what it feels like to get through that fear, so you encourage other people with, all that you have. It's an experience. So we're living the miracle. You are the miracle. And if you're called to a greater mission, then you get to keep moving forward in it and not let anything hold you back. Period.
I love that. Don't let anything hold you back. Don't let the fear stop you. Keep moving through it. Believe in the miracle that you are, and you're going to see more evidence of the miracle, and that's kind of what happens. Well, that's what's happened for me as I've gone on this path, is I've received more and more and more miracles, and they blow my mind.
Me too. I mean, stuff that's happening, isn't it funny? Even when you're in it and it keeps happening and it's all miraculous, you still go, you can't grasp it. You just get to be grateful for it, but you can't understand it or grasp it. You just say yes to it.
Well, you can't control it. I mean, I'm a healer, and so when I do healings, I had to learn that. I can't control the healing. I'm not in charge of it. So I can just, because obviously Carrie Hummingbird can't do that. But this force that's greater than me totally can. This great spirit and, whatever you want to call it, can do anything. All things are possible. And so when you're in that miracle space, to me, it's kind of just, getting out of the way of the thing that's bigger than you, that wants to move through you and use you as the vessel to create a beautiful miracle. And so you sort of have to be willing to let go of control. And if you're a control freak, well, that's going to be a little challenging. But hey, I always told myself, well, what difference does it make? Because I was in so much fear and struggle before that it was easier and better for me to let go of all that than to try to control it, because I wasn't doing such a good job at it. So like, let it go, let it happen, and, you know, trust that something better is going to happen. And so far, so good.
It is hard, you know, trust and letting go. I mean, we're all control freaks to a certain degree, you know, and like, so that's why I said the surrender thing for me is extreme. It's like, just when I think I'm doing this and I'm letting go and I'm, you know, it's all of a sudden something comes to me bigger, and I see, even when I did that Reiki session the other day, I still saw this, you know, it's like, I don't know, I don't want to say that, never mind. Or something I was going to say, I was going to use it as an example, but we hold on so tightly because we're so scared, you know, and that goes deep. So you really do have to let go. It's like, I remember the first time I did a talk in front of a women's workshop for somebody who were writing, you know, authors. And I had this idea. I was going to talk about my co-authored book that I did a couple of years ago, you know, and I was going to teach energy processes. And I prayed for half an hour on my way there. I was up in LA, you know, like, please God, I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God. I walk in the room, right? And I'm ready to go, but I'm still terrified. And the whole room was hot. Everybody's, you know, moved around. They looked at me and they're like, you know, hi. And I felt something shift. I got up to give my talk, and I did these energy processes, told about my book, and all of a sudden something happened. I told everybody to stand. And I started literally, I went into a space I don't even know. I wasn't thinking. I was like in spirit. It was like I was just a conduit, and stuff was coming out of my mouth from spirit. All this healing stuff. And all of a sudden I looked, the whole room's hot. I'm hot. People are bawling. They're crying. They're like, oh my God. And I didn't even know what happened. And I left that room going, you know, scratching my head going, oh my God, just like something miraculous happened here. And that's what happens. I mean, you can.
And don't you want to watch that back, like when that happens?
I
want to watch it back because I know something just happened, but I missed the whole thing because I was like in it.
Because you're right. Because you're this vessel. It's kind of like if you ever went to see Esther Hicks, you know, channel Abraham, right? It's just like she's using her. Some people said it's not true, but I believe it is. Because
I believe it. I can feel the energy of it. I totally believe it.
Yeah, but she has to get out of the way so that they can come through, you know, and kind of use her body and her mouth. She's a mouthpiece for Abraham. That's basically what it is. And I think that's scary for some people because, again, that's, you know.
That's loss of control. That's the ego. It doesn't want to let go.
Yeah, but it's.
But there's something bigger. It's miraculous. And miracles happen in that space of you know, that bigger presence, that larger self, that higher self that you are, the connectedness to all that is. And when you have that flowing through you, doesn't it feel good though? It feels so good when it's flowing through.
It's so aligned, you know, and it's so easy. And the thing is that if you really want to make a greater impact in the world, you know, of course you have your spin on things, your experiences, you know, like we do, you know, Facebook Lives and stuff. But again, the power is source's message, you know, whatever source wants to bring through you and say, that's where the power lies. It's not going to come through your words. It's going to come through source's words, and you get to just say, okay, you know, bring it through. So again, though, it's a process of stepping through the fear, you know, letting go of control, trusting, and surrender. And again, those are huge words for most people. Huge.
Those are, but your book demonstrates it. So everybody, you'll have a link to the book, and you'll be able to go check it out. So now, Lisa, how do people, you know, get closer to you, find out more about what you do? How do you work with people? How do you open them up? What's your process?
Well, I've shifted things. I was coaching for a few years. I still do coach. If somebody personally reaches out and texts me, I will do it. I'm actually getting more excited about coaching because I like it. I just didn't like doing it, you know, 40 hours a week or whatever. So I'm considering that. I have a program that's coming out from the live event that Joe and I did. And I'm going to be writing some more books, traveling around. So I'm really moving towards speaking more and that kind of stuff. But I am considering doing maybe a group program or something down the road. I'm not ready to do it right now. But again, if you need help, you know, reach out. They can find my website, which is used to be yes=success.com. Now it's Lisa A. Winston. Either one will take you there. You can check out what my book's about on yourturningpointbook.com. That's a landing page with a trailer. You can check out our show, the Mindset Reset Show. Go to mindsetresettv.com. We do a show that's weekly, and we interview some amazing people to shift your perception, your perspective. So they can find me lots of different places. And again, I'm in transition right now, but I'm still available to do many different things. I'm just not exactly sure how that's all going to look, you know, when it all lands. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, gosh, I certainly See, you guys, see how lucky I am? I have friends like Lisa.
Oh, wait a minute, I have friends like you. What are you talking about? I fell in love with you the minute I met you, soul sister. Love you. Love your energy. Love what
It's
you're doing.
fun.
Yeah,
It's
you're
fun
right.
work.
I like singing with you.
I like it too.
Let's do it again.
It's extremely fun.
We would have a blast together. We will have a blast.
We will, yeah, and I'm sure I know we will too.
Yeah.
We will. It could get a little goofy up in here, probably. This is what happens when two fairies get together.
It's a bliss bubble. It's a bliss bubble.
we're gonna have a lot of fairies and pixie dust when we get together, so it's fun. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this and got a lot out of it. These beautiful examples, and just, you know, this is part of, just got to walk through the process, you know, and not believe the fear and keep moving forward and go after the thing. And if, you know, and if your passion's not big enough to get you through the fear, then you just need a bigger passion. Yes.
Yes.
Make the fire bigger. It'll draw you through to the other side, and it'll be scary, you know, definitely it's scary, but that's okay, because we can peel back our minds and get a mind shift like you're talking about with your show. So I think it's great. Lots of free resources here, so I hope you guys take advantage of that. There'll be links in the show notes, so please take a look at it. And, you know, if you're on iTunes, leave a comment for us. Let us know what you thought. If you're on YouTube, same thing. If you're on soulnectar.show, same thing. Leave a comment for us. We're going to respond to you. We'd love to hear what you think about this, and keep trekking forward into the new earth. So I always give people kisses. You want to join me?
Yes.
Here they come. Okay.
Oh, you're so big on me.
We'll see you guys next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye, everybody.